Checked my phone too many times, played your voice inside my head. Can't dream at night when you're not in my bed. Tossing and turning, burning, yearning for your love. Don't think I don't know where you lie. Don't think you know where I hide. I see you, I see her, I see everything. I see the ugly truth in my dream. You're up to something and leaving a mess. I read those letters. Way I confess. Checked your phone too many times. Played her voice inside my head. Can't dream at night when she's there in your bed. Tossing and turning, burning, yearning for her love. Don't think I don't know where you lie. Don't think you know where I hide. I see you, I see her, I see everything. You walk in my dreams. Don't think I don't know where you lie. Don't think you know where I hide. I see you, I see her, I see everything. I see the truth in my dream. Dream on, 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 dream on. Don't think I don't know where you lie. Don't think you know where I hide. I see you, I see her, I see everything. I see the truth in my dreams. Don't think I don't know where you lie. Don't think you know where I hide. I see you, I see her, I see everything. I see the truth in my dreams.
WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
Please enjoy the show. Shots.
All right, everybody. Today is Sunday, the 19th of July, and it must be Kicking It with Koz.
You had to look at a calendar.
Yeah, I guess I did. I was blanking out old man syndrome. You know how it is.
July is over half over.
It is over half over. That's... Can you believe that? We are now...
This entire year has just... It sucks, and it's half over.
Yeah. Exactly. We're blowing through this month like there's no tomorrow. I mean, it is something else. But how are you doing?
I'm fairly excellent.
You're fairly excellent. That's
fairly
a statement.
I'm busy and I'm tired, but I like it when you work hard, but then you get to see progress and things kind of falling together.
Yeah, that's true.
I had some roofers showed up at Dark 30 on Monday, so my little motion detector thing went off. So I left work and I came home and got those guys to work, and they were I went back to work, and by the time I got off in the afternoon, it didn't look like they were going to finish.
Really?
But they worked until about 9 or 9:15 is when they left. And they were 100% complete.
Wow.
So this week I got a gutter guy coming sometime during the week.
It's never ending, is it?
No, I mean that's a part of the roof. So.
Okay. Well, hello Heath. How are you doing? Hello Wes. Good to see you. Goodness, it's good to see everybody. I am glad you are here. What's going? Okay. Hello Eddie. I don't know if I'm sexy, but thank you.
It's the hat.
It's the hat. It's good to see everybody. We're glad you're here. It's another beautiful Sunday. You made it through another week. And I tell you what, we're actually getting hot weather here.
Oh, tell me about it. tell me about your Pacific Northwest hot weather.
We're in the 90s.
Oh, that's my shocked face. Could you see that?
Yeah, well, not all of us live in a place where cold for you guys is 50 degrees.
And I can't complain. I mean, I think the hottest place I've ever been was Arizona.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you really... Well, no. You've been around... what is it?
Well, I'm not counting Iraq.
I was going to say, you've been in cold places like Montana, Ohio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you've gotten real weather before.
Yes, I have lived in places where there's actually 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm. And we got someone saying 116 at Diocese Air Force Base. Yikes. Please don't tell me that the damn heat here is unreal and AC just went out in on a Sunday. Oh, that's...
that happened to Spanky too. She woke up, she took a nap or something, and she woke up in the middle of her nap or at the end of her nap, and her AC had gone out.
Oh,
and it was a capacitor problem. I had that issue last summer.
Mm-hmm.
It was July or August, and AC went out. It was on a weekend, so I called an AC guy, and they showed up. To replace the capacitor was, to have them do it. It was $150, $200.
Yikes!
So
but
I
still,
got the
it's AC.
I got the part number off of the capacitor, and I ordered 4 of them from Amazon. So I'm
not going to have that problem again.
I'm never paying an AC guy to change my capacity.
Hello, Holly. It's good to see you. Hello, Mom. Mom says it's hot in Cincinnati. I don't know. Yeah, it's when it's hot in the Pacific Northwest, it's going to be hot everywhere.
I think we're supposed to get rain this week. I'm not sure. It keeps on showing up and disappearing and showing back up again. So we'll see.
That's kind of what we've been getting overhead clouds, but all that does is make it muggy. It doesn't even rain. It just makes it warm but dark. It's like, ew.
It's a soupy mess. But it's not. It's the summer thing. Guess what?
Guess what?
I gave iZombie another chance.
And?
I like it.
There you go. I'm glad to hear that.
I was expected not to like it. And I actually I turned it off 36 minutes into the first episode, and then I flushed it down the toilet. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna like this, right?
I know, you told me.
So, and I was thinking about what we discussed last week, and I said, no, I'm never gonna watch it again. Well, I said, well, I'm gonna give it another shot. So I rewatched the first episode. I think I might have been in a better mindset. How you doing, Rebecca, Gary? Anyway, I think I was in a better mindset, and it was funny, and it is funny. So
yes.
Now I think I'm six shows in.
Wow.
it's pretty. It is good. Once you learn who she is and then learn her story, then it kind of it makes sense.
Yes, it does.
It makes sense. And now that I understand what happened and what's happening, it's not bad.
No,
it's not a bad show at all.
Hello, how you doing, Stephen? You know, and that's just it. I've actually been going through. You know, I kind of. You know, I told you before the show that I've been. Anybody who's been following me this week I've been kind of preoccupied even when I've been streaming. Been doing a lot of thinking, and I've been watching, and you know, it's one of those. Sometimes you got to put your finger on it, and I finally put my finger on it. Finally Saturday, and I realized there's a lot of stuff going on in this world. And I sat there and went, a lot of people come up with a lot of excuses to do a lot of things they don't need to do. You know, you watch the narco thing and the dope thing and all these shows about drugs and how these people come up with excuses. And I'm sorry. I will feel for people and I will give them empathy. But to sit there and say, well, I had a car accident and my back hurt a little, my back hurt and I got hooked on opiates and I just couldn't get off it because I needed the drugs for my back. And it's like, someone needs to sit down and talk with you about that, because that, that's just an excuse.
It's a real thing, though.
I know pain, okay? And I'm not saying pain isn't real, but at some point you have to get beyond the pain. And I don't know if it's me because I'm wired the way I am, but it's like, you know what? You have to make a decision if it's going to be something that's going to be in your life, you know what? Deal with it. Don't sit there and try to distract yourself with drugs. Deal with it. Deal with it to where you can move on and be happy. And I guess I'm kind of wired a little bit different than some people, but I just don't believe in giving up and throwing in the towel.
There's a new series on Netflix. It's called The Business of Drugs.
I've got that one marked.
That's really, really good. And there's a section they go through like methamphetamine.
Yeah.
They go through cannabis. They go to opioids are one of them. But it's this same CIA lady who goes and interviews people.
Yeah.
And just learns the business side of these drugs. What makes a drug empire a successful drug empire? And they actually went to, and when they were talking about opiates,
yeah,
in particular hydrocodone,
mm-hmm.
They were talking about that. People go in for just a simple surgery, and the pain medication that they're prescribed is the hydrocodone. And
yeah,
they take it just like the doctor says, and they end up getting really hooked. And the doctors, won't re-up their prescription because they're no longer in pain. Their bodies are now physically addicted to the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they either go doc shopping or they go to pain clinics and they try to find a doc that'll just prescribe them pills, or they graduate over to heroin.
Exactly.
So it's a real thing. Addiction ain't nothing to fuck around with, man.
Oh, it's not that I don't believe it's real, because I had to deal with that when I was in the Army. I actually worked on a drug and alcohol rehab ward in the military. And it's not that I don't understand it, because I do. And I do have empathy for it. It just comes down to, at some point, it's a decision. And you have to make the decision, what do you want your life to be? And if you want your life to be better than just living for a drug, you can make that decision. It may take a little bit, but you can make that decision. And I've actually seen people do that. Yeah, exactly, Stephen. There's a lot of places now. It's not just Florida. A lot of states have been going through this with addiction going rampant. And everybody says, well, we didn't, it's a victimless crime. No, drugs are not a victimless crime. Drugs it's not only do you have the people who are on the drugs, you have the families who have to deal with their family members being on the drugs, and you have to deal with the fact that people are going out and robbing people. And they say dealers, well, they're non-violent. No, dealers are very violent. Dealers are just at the bottom of the food chain, but that's just it. They're at the bottom of the food chain, and the people who are at the bottom of the food chain tend to be a lot worse than the people at the top of the food chain, because they tend to want to get up. So what do? They fight, and they do whatever it takes, and that includes killing.
I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of that series. It's only like 6 episodes long.
Yeah.
It's a limited series, but it's educational. Looking at various different drug empires from a business perspective. It's eye opening.
Oh, and that's just it. I've been thinking about I've been thinking about all that stuff, and it kind of goes to what is my attitude towards my life and where I want to be. Because I mean, I've come a long way myself, and I mean, you've heard me talk a little bit here. Everybody has. I don't hold back on that. And I realize that I have to take another step forward. It's time for me to, I got myself out of the hole of dying. Now it's time to go past that. I'm no longer in that situation to where I still have to worry. My immune system has gotten to the point where I've been exposed to stuff and I haven't gotten sick. So I know I'm getting better.
You haven't caught the Rona, so that's good.
I haven't caught the Rona. I've been exposed to pneumonia, and I didn't catch it. And I know I was exposed to it because the person had pneumonia and actually was right in close proximity to me, and I did not catch it. Exactly, Eddie. That's what I'm talking about. For them, violence is golden. Eddie said dealers might be the bottom of the food chain, but they're on the front line and have to compete for territory. And that's what I mean. They have to do the fighting. They're the ones who have to dig in. Hello, all. Good to see you. And that's, anytime the most scrappiest thing or being is the one who's at the bottom of the food chain, because they're fighting to get up. Stephen, I know it's a condition, and that's unfortunate. It is an unfortunate one that I used to be able to catch it just simply by being in the same room as a person. That's how bad my immune system was. But it's not anymore. And at that point now, I realize I need to start planning forward. And so that's what I'm doing. That's my intent, is to start moving forward. I'm going to be taking my vacation, and during that vacation, I'm going to be doing a lot of thinking. What is my next step? Because I need it.
You know what my next step is?
Your bathroom.
Tiling the bathroom. I got that thing all ripped apart. It's great. It's little goals, man. That is my life now. I go to work, and then I come home, and then I work on my house.
All right, I have said this, and I mean it. Ladies, if there is a lady out there who is single who would like to hook up with a man who likes to, a happy day for him is puttering around and taking out a bathroom so he can redo it, this is the guy for you, okay?
I don't putter around. I do it.
In other words, it's what that's what you do. You can't sit still and not be thinking about something to do.
I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of things to do.
Mm-hmm. See, ladies, this is the guy for you. You want a guy who takes care of here he is.
I'll buy another house and fix it up and sell it.
Mom and Spanky are taking applications. No, this week I got my RV all set. Put it in the shop, and they had to do a new starter, which did more than we thought it would. Put in the exhaust manifold gaskets, and put in the line so that I can plug in my dolly that pulls my car into the back and have brake system and blinker system.
It's good. I mean, it's good to drive that and then have an increased confidence in it. You're not going to break down because you're taking a long trip at the end of the month.
Yeah, at the end of August, I will be going approximately 450 to 500 miles, one way, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Oh, I didn't tell you this. Get this. I didn't even. I was coming home from talking to my mechanic. I sat there and said, I know a buddy of mine because I was getting what kind of RV? It's a motorhome, 36 foot. In great shape, kind of old, but in great shape. But I was coming home, and I'm like, I want to replace a couple radios in my RV because they're old. They have cassette decks in them. Okay. And they don't have aux jacks, and I want to be able to plug in my iPod, and my wife wants to be able to plug it in her phone because she actually has XM radio. And so I sat there and went, okay, you know what? That's it. I'm going to go to this friend. He runs a detail shop, and he works for a bunch of dealerships. They bring their cars to him. He details them, and sometimes they have him replace radios and stuff. I think, okay, I'm going to go to this guy, see if he's got any in stock. Got there, and he said, you know what? What's going on? I explained my RV to him. He says, you know what? I can do all that stuff. And he said, you don't want these used ones. You want what they have. They have now radios that have Bluetooth, so your wife doesn't even have to plug it in. And I was talking about my TVs. He said, bring your RV over to my place. We'll take measurements, and I'll put your TVs in for you. Because he's already done this stuff before. And it's like, dude, that would be... He said, how soon you want... I said, the only thing I really, really want is the TV and the front radio. Everything else can wait. He said, bring it over. Well, I didn't know I was going to get it this weekend. I didn't know I was going to get it Friday night. I thought I was going to get my RV back till Monday. So I'm going to take my RV over there either this week or next week. He's going to take the measurements, and we're actually going to set up my TV. So it's in the old TV hole where the old tube TV sits.
You could probably make a closet and then put a TV on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just god-awful, right? But we're going to make it so that it has a pull in it and a fold-out arm so you can just fold the TV or bring the TV out and turn it and tilt it any way you want it. And then we're going to replace the stereo system in the front part of the RV so that when we're driving, we can listen to whatever we want to. And it's like, dang, things always just seem to happen the way they're supposed to as long as you're paying attention. And man, I hadn't even thought about going to this guy. Him and our friends, but he's busy. Even during COVID, he's been busy. He can't keep, he doesn't have time for anything. They keep him so busy. And I'm like, okay, I'll just drop by there and see what he can do. If he got any radios. And sure enough, he said he can do, and we'll deal with it. And I'm like, that would be nice. That would really be nice. So that's what I'm going to, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get that put in. And then my RV is going to be in the position to where it's going to be even more comfortable.
It's going to be baller.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to go down the road. It's got that nice air suspension. And I'm looking forward to it.
Cranking that rap music driving through the mountains.
You're going to laugh when you hear what kind of music I listen to.
It's probably Barry Manilow.
60s and 80s. No joke. 60s, late 70s, and 80s. 60s mainly because of my parents. And then late 70s because that's when I was in high school, junior high. And then 80s because that's when I was overseas and I got to see the concerts and everything else.
I think I like 80s rock, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I like my musical palette is very broad, but
I've noticed.
if I had to choose one genre, it would be just 80s rock.
I listened anywhere from what they call back in those days with 80s. I listened to new wave and alternative, but that was Tears for Fears.
Yeah, but you're in Germany, so you have an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. No, Heath, I'm going to be pulling my little PT Cruiser on the dolly. My RV can only pull 3,500 pounds extra. So that's what I'm going to be pulling is my little PT Cruiser.
You were talking about the Bluetooth thing. When I got rid of my Honda CRV, which was a 2001. I had it since it was born.
Yeah.
Finally got rid of it.
Really?
And I'm driving a Ford Fusion right now.
Oh, that's right. You told me about that.
And that thing's got it's got everything in it. So it was really cool when I was shopping for the car and I had decided to buy it. Me and the sales guy were out there setting my phone up so we can interact with the car. So there's this automatic connection whenever I get in the car and start it up. It's
my wife. She actually has a Buick. What is it? Enclave? Same thing. The minute she walks in with her phone, it connects.
That's good.
And she's like, "Oh, I love it." And I don't call your vehicles names. You don't call mine names, Steven. It's a good little car, and it's pullable. Anything from about... This is funny. They have what they call dolly pull and flat tow when you pull an RV behind you. And flat tow is the preferred because then you don't have a dolly. All you do is drive your car up, slowly move in. There's a tow bar that hook connects, and that's it. Boom, you're done. But that system costs $4,500, and you have to have a vehicle that'll do it. Newer vehicles don't do that. You have to get an older vehicle to be able to do a flat tow. And when I say older, anything from 2015 or older, anything newer than 2016 or newer, most of them don't do flat tows anymore.
My Wall said she wants to drive an RV so she could live anywhere. Yeah, but that's probably not for another 3 years. I had the same thought. I'm like, man, that'd be just great just to live out of an RV. I can go anywhere. I can do anything and survive. Well, that might be a retirement thing.
Well, here's the deal.
For me,
my wife and I, had I not met her, I was very close to selling my house and buying a nice big fifth wheel and going, because at the time I didn't have custody of my son. I'm like, you know what? You can jump from base to base all around the United States. There are bases that are wonderful. You can stay. Some places you're restricted to 2 weeks. Some places you're restricted to 2 months. And they're secure. You have a commissary and a BX nearby. Some of them are off base. And there's these nice, on a lake reservations and all that stuff. And I was going to do it, and then I met my wife, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll stick around. And
women screw everything up.
Yeah,
I thought about that, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is a retirement thing, but I'm thinking, how soon before I get sick of it? And would I get sick of it? I don't know. I don't know if I would or not.
Well, here's what I have found with people that do it. One, you need a motorhome, not one that you pull like a fifth wheel.
Right.
And it's mainly because you're going to need something big. It's going to have slide outs so that you have room, and you have to have hobbies that can move from base to base. In other words, I know people that they work wherever they go, even though they're retired, just because they don't want to be bored. So they go, like I know one lady, she runs the Clear Lake Resort up here, and so that's how she pays for her rent for staying here up at the Clear Lake Resort, and then she goes down and works in Las Vegas at Nellis during the winter. And there are some people that go all the way down to Phoenix and all that places, and they just do things because they don't want to sit, but at the same time they're moving. They're going where they want to be, to where it's warm weather. They don't freeze their butts off in the winter, that type of thing. And they just, up here, it doesn't get as hot as it does down in Texas or in Las Vegas. And so they come up here, they actually get to sit on a lake all summer long. And that's the nice part. There's a lot of ways to do it. That's actually what I was going to do. I was just going to go hop around, see how long I could make a reservation for, go to one place and go to another, back and forth, do all this stuff. And it wouldn't have been hard. There are actually a decent number of people who do that. And you can actually have a lot of fun doing it.
I'd probably have to pick up another marketable skill or two, because I'm pretty tied to my job. I can't do anything. I can't do what I do on the road.
Yeah. Well, you're a handyman, and they need those too. Like when she runs Clear Lake Resort, she does anything from cash register to lawn care. And anything in between. They rent out boats. She helps at the cash register, rents out the boats, or her and her husband rent out the boats there, and they run the place for the manager who works out at the rec center. And you're right, Eddie. Campground host is actually a pretty decent job, because you kind of have to be a little bit of a handyman, but at the same time, it's really a part-time job. One of my colleagues I work with, he's closer. He's a lot closer to retirement than I am, and he's made plans. He already knows he wants to run like an RV park. And it's not a bad thing. With me. My wife got a while before she's going to retire, so I'm not even worried about it. We're thinking this is our retirement RV. We don't know, though. We may end up, who knows? If I win the lottery, maybe I'll get something even bigger. But it's actually a very big RV, and it's very comfortable. And that's the whole idea, is you get something that's comfortable, something that's got enough room to where you don't feel like the walls are closing in on you. And it has what you want. Understand, though, when you live in an RV, you're a minimalist. You can't have a lot of things. So that's
I watched a YouTube video, because I do that, like Saturday night's like my YouTube night.
Yeah.
Where I dive into a rabbit hole and usually emerge, and it's 2-3 o'clock in the morning. But I watched one of a woman who just decided to sell all of her shit, and she moved into a tiny house. Mm-hmm. Just her and her dog. And she talked about it. She gave a really objective review of living in a tiny home.
Yeah.
And she says, I like it because of this, that, and the other thing. And she goes, and I don't like it because of it is a small area. And she was up in the Pacific Northwest area, and where it rains a lot. And
yeah.
She says, when it rains, you get wet, and the dog gets wet, so you bring the dog into the house, and all of a sudden your entire house smells like wet dog.
Yep.
And when you cook, your house smells like whatever you're cooking.
Very
everything,
true.
Clothes, everything.
Well, that's the nice part. See, here's the difference, and this is why I always laugh. Tiny houses, they're approximately the same size as an RV. My thought is, why not get an RV and reinforce it? Because a tiny house is missing things like true ventilation. There are some things they really don't put in there that they put into an RV. I mean, I actually have a hood over my stove that sucks out the smell of the food. I actually have storage when I travel. That type of thing. Whereas tiny houses, they don't think that way. And I have had, like my fifth wheel, there was a lot of room in that thing. The RV I have right now, there's a lot of room. And I can't imagine trying to cut down and lose some of the things that they do when they do tiny houses, because they can't anchor them properly. Whereas with RVs, they can anchor them because they make them structurally to where you have your outer shell and then your inner shell, which is where you anchor everything to. Makes a difference. I got a 40-foot fifth wheel toy hauler with 2 pop-outs, and it's awesome. Don't want to worry about towing a car behind me. So drop the trailer and roll out. I can put either my Harley in the trailer or my dirt bike on a side-by-side. And see, there's a lot of configurations out there. If you're pulling a fifth wheel, well, then you've got a vehicle so you don't need a pull behind vehicle. If you have a motorhome, you have to pull a vehicle behind you, because when you go someplace, you pull in, you stop, and you hook up, and you don't want to have to unhook to go anywhere. So you have a vehicle that you pull behind. Stephen, tiny homes are kind of a scam, because there are RVs that are much better. And they have a lot more to them, and they give you a lot more room for what space you're taking. I've heard people try to argue about it, and I sit there and say, you know what? I can live in a fifth wheel. I can live in a motorhome. But those tiny houses, I've seen them. And they don't have slide outs. They go up, and you have to climb ladders to get into the beds. And, I mean, there's just a lot of shortcomings. So I'd rather stick with an RV. That's what they're made for.
I guess it's all a personal choice. Some people don't mind doing that.
I know. The reason a lot of people go tiny houses is because you can actually, depending on how much you do yourself and everything else, you can build a tiny house for $20,000 or less. A good RV is going to cost you more. But you're paying for what you get. That's the difference. So, I don't know. But yeah, my RV, next weekend I go out. I'm going to pull my car along, and that'll be my first dry run, pulling my car out with me, make sure I know what I'm doing with it. As long as that goes good, I'm ready to go on my vacation at the end of August. I am looking forward to it.
It'll be fun. Hopefully it's event free.
That's the idea, is nothing, no surprises. No surprises. But it's good to see everybody here. Goodness, we've had a lot of good chatter going on in the rooms while talking about her. She needs her computers. Yeah, that's the only downside to RVs, is consistent internet is not always easy. What a lot of people do is they go and they buy those hotspot pucks, and you make your own internet hotspot.
As long as your phone has a... I mean, there's areas, I drive through Wyoming on my way up to Montana. That's just, there's nothing. I don't get any signal. Nothing. There's no radio stations. There's nothing.
Oh, I agree. Oh, no. I'm talking, in other words, if there's reception, you know, then you're okay. But there are RV places that will say they have Wi-Fi, and their Wi-Fi is not good at all. So,
like Sniper Hill internet when I was over in Iraq. 28.8. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. And it was expensive. It was like $130 a month.
And yes, Eddie, extra tires are a must. If you don't take extra tires, you're a fool.
Yep.
So no, I'm like I said, I'm really looking forward to this trip. It's going to be enjoyable. I'm actually going to put a camera up. My wife and I have decided, yes, we're actually going to do this. I'm going to put a camera up focused on my wife, so everybody can. I'll have a video of my wife freaking out her first time riding in a motorhome.
We'll see how good of a passenger she is.
She, you know, this
She ought to drive. You ought to teach her how to drive that thing.
I'm going to. But the idea, see, she's okay. Until
Yeah, teach. Okay, put her in the driver's seat, and we'll see how good of a passenger you are.
I'll be fine. I've been in vehicles like this. She has not. When you actually the front tires are underneath you, as in underneath your butt. Okay? So when you're driving forward, when you make a turn, you have to it looks like you're going to hit things. And then on top of it, because of the way the windows are and everything else, those white lines are, I mean, there's just like, half a foot each side. And I can see it through the mirrors. She can't. And so the whole time when you're coming...
Eddie, you're absolutely correct, man. Driving through some of those places, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No problem.
You hit, I mean, where there's absolutely no reception, you hit like search on the radio, and it just goes around and around and around and around. It just keeps on searching because there's nothing to be found.
When I drove truck, when I drove commercially, I always had to have some form of, back then you didn't have iPods, so I had to have CDs with me. Because you would hit those areas where there was no nothing.
You had that big binder with all the CDs in it?
I usually took about, I'd take some mixed CDs with me and then some story CDs like Harry Potter or whatever. Something to listen to, a book.
Those are good. I like the books on tape.
Yeah.
Books on CD or whatever.
Do you have a license upgrade for it? Heath, you don't have to. This is the part I don't agree with. No state requires you to get any kind of upgrade in your license to drive a motorhome, pulling a vehicle behind you. No state requires it.
They should.
They should. I mean, I would fully endorse that. Even though I have one, I would go get it because there are people that have, like, 60, 70, 80-year-olds gone in, said, I'm retired, I'm going to go get myself a motorhome, and they'll go out and they'll get the biggest motorhome that they can get. They've never drove it before. Go to RV places. They will tell you. The one here locally, he said, those guys said they had a guy wreck 3 times before he even got it off the lot, and they brought it up front for him. And he still wrecked it 3 times before he got it off the lot. No, Heath, no. Only for commercial. Not if it is it's considered private use. You can actually have a big old semi trailer, and as long as you put private use only on it, you don't have to have a CDL.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the state requirements, and it's like if you're over 26,000 pounds, then different requirements are there for RVs.
Yeah.
Or like in Wisconsin has a CDL. CDL is required over 45 feet.
Yeah, most people don't get more than like 40 to 43, but they have 53-foot motorhomes.
I was thinking because I see a lot of the buses.
Mm-hmm.
plus RVs, and those I know you have to have a special license.
Some states, not all states. Washington State, you don't. Believe it or not, I could walk in right now and get a 53-foot motorhome without an endorsement. Matt, good manufacturers, it depends on what you're talking about. Because if you're talking about travel trailers and fifth wheels, Jayco, Keystone are right now the two I consider they're good structurally. In other words, they're not going to fall apart on you. Now, then when you're talking motorhomes, it depends on how much you want to spend. Because then you're talking spending range. If you're talking $100,000 or left or less, a Jayco. If you're talking $200,000, I'd start